But there we go. Unfortunately, we meet our demise. Woe is me. But hey, there's always next time. So, mission failed. We'll get him next time. Let's go for it, shall we? Quick wee bit of a stretch here. And then I have a couple of spark bolts and fire bolts. This is apparently the only start we're getting today, which maybe not exactly ideal. You want 6 models? Here, give me $80. Enjoy assembling them yourself and filling off the sprues and painting it yourself. And oh, and here's $40 worth of paint. Yeah, they knew what they were doing in that business, for sure. That's how I feel about a lot of my, like, nerdy habits, and I say that in a good way, for sure. But I feel like I'd be so much more into, like, magic if I could afford it. It'd be such a dangerous hobby if I could afford to indulge my whims in that regard. Element of culture, you see. Well, you played Tyranids back in the day. Or back in the early 2000s? Cool. Very cool. Now I'm gonna have to do, yeah, a bunch of research just so I can sound like I'm also part of the cool club here. That's a huge part of it. Is I like being able to talk with people about things that they're passionate about. I think that it's always a lot of fun, and you can always learn a lot of interesting stuff as well. But I also definitely often make myself, I was gonna say out to be an idiot, but it's more so that I reveal to people that how much of a fool I am. So many nerd hobbies are so expensive. D&D is the only one that's cheap. Yeah, no, it's rough. And D&D is cheap nowadays, fortunately, because there's so many, like, incredible online resources where you can get to, you know, get a lot of the player handbook stuff, or even the DM side, or the monster manual, so that's great. But even that back in the day was a little bit rough just for affording the books. And even nowadays, all those are available for free online, and there's so many great services for it, but there's something about those books, especially something like the Monster Manual. I need the pretty pictures. I absolutely love it. That's one of my fondest memories from being a young kid, was taking my brother's Monster Manual and just looking through it at all the pictures. Even before I could really read or have any understanding, or didn't have any understanding of the game itself, I just very much enjoyed the lore of it and the pretty pictures. And you have a randy and relevant tweet for me? Perfect. Let's give this a quick check here. Rest assured, you will never bore me by talking about your special interest. You're an astronomer? I have questions. You draw maps of medieval London? I love you. This world is a banquet of knowledge, and each of us has brought a dish to the table. Dig in. That is beautiful. That's absolutely fantastic. I do really like that, Dr. Pirate. That's very much how I feel about a lot of things in life. I'm just hungry for knowledge, and the more passionate someone is to talk about something, the more incredible their story can be. Though even if they're not exceptionally passionate, I still want to hear about it. It's always great. You still have your Werewolf the Apocalypse book around there somewhere, and a bag full of D10s. Oh, see, yeah, it's so fantastic. I think on my bookshelf, just over my left shoulder here, I have 2 of the newer editions of the base 3 D&D books. But I also have one, I think I have the DM playbook. I forget what they're all called. It's like the player's handbook, the DM's something or another. But I have that one, the old edition. I think even like from 2E, from 2nd edition D&D on my shelf. It's fantastic. Dude, when you were a kid, you checked out and then from the library, and the art is what got everyone into it. It's so good. It's so fantastic. And Duck, you'll do them one better. You met like 3 of your girlfriends, LARPing werewolf and vampire. Fantastic. It's such a good way to make new friends in general across the board. 'Cause, yeah, everyone likes their nerdy passions, and it's fantastic. It's beautiful. And all get into it together and have a good time. Oh, me oh my. Okay, so I'm so rich, but I'm also potentially going to die. But it's worth it because I'm rich, right? That's all that matters. Society. Please, please, sir. A portal to Holy Mountain is all I ask for. But a single portal to Holy Mountain. You want to get into D&D again, Doctor, but it has to be the right group. There's nothing wrong with players who optimize their builds, but you love the role-playing aspect with non-optimal characters, and you want to do a Minotaur Bard so badly. Yeah, you and I would definitely get along in terms of what we enjoy in D&D, because I'm very much the same. I'm less about the optimization, more about having a good time, getting a bit silly with it. In general, finding the right group can be so important for D&D because there's so many directions that the game can be taken. And like I've always put a lot of credence into the idea that like a good DM will meet up with everyone before you even start, you know, on day 0. You have a session 0 where you just talk about like expectations, you know, what do people want to take from this? What do people play for? What reason do you have? Because the best stories are ones that can be enjoyed by everyone in their preferred way. And that's part of what makes the game so beautiful, is that you get the opportunity to really dive into, you know, whatever you want as a player, as a DM. So fantastic. You run a game every 2 weeks online with your college buds, but the worst villain is scheduling and growing old. Yes, where all D&D campaigns go to die, unfortunately. The same thing for me, where I've had a few different campaigns started with like a couple of my family members, and my wife plays, and we absolutely adore it. So much fun, but unfortunately, oh, so close, so close. Safety was just out of reach. It slipped right through our fingers, but oh well, that's all good. At least we have the fantastic conversation about D&D to keep me going here. But yeah, even though we all very much enjoyed those sessions that we played together, and the campaigns were brilliant, I think that my older brother is one of the best DMs, period. Even though I haven't had too many, so maybe I'm not qualified to give that opinion, but I still say it with my chest. This is the hill I die on. But yeah, he's so much fun and makes incredible campaigns. But we just, unfortunately, get so hard to get everyone to be there, and fortunately, in the last one we tried, it was a little bit more flexible in that regard, where people could kind of drop out for a session or two without interrupting the story too much, but it's a tricky thing to balance for sure. And one day, we'll get back into it, especially since I want to do some DMing sometime. I very much love it, and I'm a big fan of improv, even though I'm not always the best at it. So I think I could have a good time. Yeah, exactly. You played tabletop games and you've done the optimization thing. When you play an RPG, you like to get more into the role play than the G part. Nice, yeah. That's really fun. I very much enjoy the roleplay aspect. With most of my like D&D characters, I very much customize, where even if I'm, you know, I'm just casting like a standard spell, I'm casting a magic missile, I'll always like flavor it and give it my own personal spin. I very much enjoy taking the, like, you know, if you have like a list of beast companions that you can have as a ranger, you take the stats of something like a dire wolf, and then instead you make sure that you have some Cthulhu-esque monster as your companion that follows you around, and it just adds that little bit of flavor text that I find oh so fun. So it's just a matter of finding the group so that you'll enjoy it more. Exactly, yeah. Well, I definitely hope you do, because that's so much fun when you do find that perfect group and the right set of people. You can let it all loose and just have a good time. That's what it's all about. And it's so funny because when I first kind of started getting into D&D, I always thought that I would, based on my own like personality in real life, I thought I would get much more into the mechanics of it all and trying to not necessarily optimize fully, but at least, you know, try and really work within the systems. And I definitely didn't think I'd get into roleplay because as much as I enjoy improv, I've never been great on the spot in terms of characterization and role-playing. You know, sometimes it's hard to take seriously if you're not experienced in it and you're not very familiar, I guess, with the entire kind of mentality. But didn't hold me back at all once we actually started playing. Like, it's so funny how quickly people, even the most serious people who, you know, would never be caught dead doing some, like, silly acting, will do hilarious things, fantastic things in a group when you're all just, you know, having a good time and not too worried about what each other thinks, and instead just, you know, have fun. You're all there for the same reason. So there's never any pressure to also to not be comfortable with that stuff, and never want to force anyone into it. And D&D lets you do that. In fact, I feel like that's partially why I think I hold my brother to such a high regard in terms of DMing, because he really does a good job of managing the different playstyles. Where we can have, you know, one person that's very much into the mechanical aspects and just wants to fight, and then you have me who's very much into the talking and the storylines and trying to talk my way out, in and out of problems at any given opportunity. And somehow he makes it all mesh and all work. It's fantastic. If you're playing a bard, then we're all bards. It's a 5-man band. That's one of my favorite Dimension 20 D&D sessions, is the sirens, where they all play bard characters. Super silly. The other character you want to do so bad is a lawyer who accidentally swaps his law books with a wizard spell book. The whole bit is that he's acting like a lawyer, find loopholes in the natural laws to cast spells. It's all flavor. Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. Yeah, it's the exact type of thing that I enjoy doing, is just putting your own little twist on things. Doesn't change anything from a mechanical aspect, but boy does it make the role-playing part fun. One of my more recent characters that I played was a very dad-like bard, and so with them, when I did like I'm trying to remember. I'm not very good at remembering specific spell names because I so often like just change the name on my end. But the like unstoppable laughter effect that or spell that bards can cast. My go-to with that one was that I'd just tell the most horrible inane puns ever, and then have, you know, a goblin just burst out laughing and unable to stop it. The extreme wit and hilarity of it all. And every time I gave my bardic inspiration to my teammates, it was always a very dadly pep talk, where I was just, you know, letting them know that you got this, champ. You'll get through it in one piece. Tasha's hideous laughter, exactly. Yeah, that was my chance, or my opportunity to punish all of my table mates with some truly horrendous jokes that are, of course, secretly the best jokes, and everyone very much enjoyed them. They just don't want to admit it. They just groan to cover up the true laughter, as we all know. Oh geez, almost dead. It's so fun. Like casting counterspell. With your lawyer, you cast counterspell and scream, "Objection!" would be one of those things that would take a while to get to because it's a situational 3rd level, but it'd be worth the wait. Definitely. I'm not your champ, sport. No, I'm not sport. I'm dad. But that is great, Dr. Pirate. So great that, who knows, maybe I'll steal it from you sometime. Because at least something similar. I really enjoy the lawyer motif, though. I think that I could have a lot of fun with that as well. Especially the twist of, yeah, just trying to twist the laws of nature, or follow the laws as you understand them, your own perception. That's so good. Okie dokie, let's see what kind of wands we have available here. It's not bad. Actually, that's very short cast delay. Okay, max mana, not the greatest, but I might end up buying you since I can just barely afford it. And it's something at the very least, just a long recharge time to potentially keep in mind. But all this talk is kind of bad for me. Now I'm just itching. I'm very much... can't even think of the right word right now, but I am very much wanting to get back into the D&D swing of things. Maybe I should just make some character prototypes or something like that after the stream today, just to get the itch, get that itch going. Or I'll finally get around to actually trying to set up some campaign stuff for when I do eventually DM, because I do very much want to. Worms run away, can sense nearby items, bleed flammable oil, but immune to fire. That's all I need to hear, game. Let's dance, you and I. And... that's okay. I kind of like this shotgun, though. Let's go nuts, shall we? Oh, me, oh my. Alright. Your fire doesn't hurt me. Your flame will not help you here, little lightning bug. Oh, me almighty. Oh, stop that. Stop this. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, wait. Oh, they can't even damage me. Well, all that panic for nothing. Probably got myself more hurt than I would have if I just stood still. Whoopsie daisies. But yeah, we definitely have to talk more D&D, especially on a day where I'm a little bit more lucid, because there's so many fantastic things or parts to the game that will always want to have me wanting more, wanting to come back into it. But I don't feel like I'm doing the great game of D&D justice at the moment, unfortunately. Especially since that's something that I want to try and convince more people to get into, because it's funny how, I mean, nowadays it's so much better than it used to be. Like, I feel like, you know, the destigmatizing of nerdy stuff in general, and on top of that, just more exposure to things like D&D has brought, you know, a huge influx of players, or at least people who are interested in playing, and that's awesome. But I'm always trying to convince more and more of my friends to get into it, because I think that it's so cool to see what different people, and especially what new players, can bring to the table when they don't have, you know, preconceptions or things that they think are absolutely necessary. It's really cool, some of the creative things you can find in some of the, like, solutions to problems, or even some of the silly situations you can find yourself in. Your last character was a tiefling fighter bard luchador, whose ring name was El Diablo Verde, the Green Devil. It was a hero like the fabled Mexican wrestler El Santo from real life. Trust you haven't lived until you've grabbed a cultist of Baal and leapt from a 5th story only to save yourself with featherfall off the top rope. By God, he broke him in half. I hear perpetually the DM. Oh no. See, that's definitely a small part of why I want to get into DMing, is to give my brother a chance to have someone else in the role. And on top of that, I feel like I want to, because he would never agree with me there. I think that he very much enjoys DMing, or at least says he does. But I really want to see him as a player, because I think that it'd be so fun to see what he takes into the game. And what kind of hijinks you can get up to. It's one day. In fact, the more we talk about it here, the more I'm probably convincing myself, maybe even successfully this time, that I need to get on that, so that we can experience that as a group and have some fun. But I love the luchador. That's great. I think that what both of the examples that have been brought up today have in common, that is something I very much enjoy, is taking, like, modern roles or modern tropes into a fantasy world, because there's such a breadth of kind of fun you can have with that, and lots of different angles that you can take it to make it just so much fun, and a lot of, you know, silliness can ensue, which I greatly appreciate it. I'm always down for a little bit of silliness. And yeah, you'll say that Roll20 and D&D Beyond make playing online so much easier. Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the kind of classic style, you know, pen and paper, having like cool maps with sweet little figurines, even if they are just little like seashells or knickknacks, whatever you want to use. But I have to say, it's just so much easier to get in and get out with a lot of the online resources for sure. And that's definitely how I have to play with my family, because the majority of them live in a different city than I do. But no, like I kind of alluded to earlier, I feel like we're in such a golden age when it comes to D&D. We're so lucky with a lot of the resources that we have, you know, at our fingertips, at our disposal. Because even within those, there's so many like cool customizable things. Dog, we're just getting him killed. It's all worth it. Inject that D&D talk straight into my veins. You're living rent-free in my head right now. Used to play face-to-face, but then COVID. Yeah, unfortunately so. I mean, yeah, again, the nice thing about a lot of these online resources is the fact that you can do a lot of cool customization as well, which I appreciate. Because I've definitely done a lot of like custom spell sets. Even if I just want to rename something, I'll make an entire like custom item for it on D&D Beyond, just so I can have it on my sheet as whatever ridiculous thing that I came up with. Let's definitely put the blood there. And this is actually the way I think to get good at a game. If I can actually play successfully and not die while carrying on a good conversation, then that's just a win-win. And pretty much what I want to take from this channel. Because as much as I do love playing video games, and don't get me wrong, I love video games. I like being good at video games on the rare occasion that happens. But the main reason why I stream video games is for just this. I love having fantastic conversation with incredible people, and most importantly probably, just have a good time in whatever way, shape, or form that may take. So I appreciate the both of you for giving me so much incredible content to talk about, especially since it puts me in such a fun, nostalgic headspace. Just wanting to get back into things and remembering all the fun that I've had over the years. So great. I think I'll always remember one of the very first times that I ever played D&D. It was my brother convincing all the siblings in my family to try it out because he was a big fan. And none of us really knew what to do, and a couple of us hadn't really been into fantasy too much in the past, so I was pretty young at the time, but I have a distinct memory of running into a bunch of goblins as our very first encounter. And so my brother describes them as, you know, they're these like kind of short humanoid things. They have like a greenish tinge to their skin. They're kind of like weirdly proportioned. And I wish I knew what one of my sister's like mental image was at that point in time, because the first thing that she thought of was, so I am gonna go in and can I try and tickle it? It's like a cute little monster thing, right? I'm gonna tickle the goblin. And then she rolled extremely well. And so my brother was left fumbling with how to manage that situation. And I think that one is roughly tied with the same campaign, but at a different fight. Where when I was young, I always, oh, I'm not wearing a good shirt for it, but I always chewed on the collar of my shirts like that and just sucked on them. Weird kid, I know, but I'm a lot weirder even as an adult, so I don't worry about it too much. But I'd always do that, and I was playing like a cool, badass paladin at the time, I believe. And so as I was like charging into battle, I was sucking on my shirt while talking about like I weighed in and give out a war cry. And my brother's like, and sucking on your shirt too, right? For my character. I don't know how I reacted at the time. Probably not well. I was probably very embarrassed because I wanted to be a cool grown-up who was doing badass things. You try to tickle the gazebo. Oh, the gazebo. That's probably one of the best D&D jokes or references, however you'd classify it, out there. I very much enjoy that. I hit the gazebo. Does it do anything? No, it's a gazebo. You fire an arrow at the gazebo. It takes no damage? What kind of monster is this? And your first memory is a super old role-playing book. It was like an actual novel about wargaming, but your first campaign was the, It's hard to think back, especially depending on what age you got into them, or, you know, how many you've played since then. I'm a mixture of fortunate and unfortunate that I haven't gone a lot of D&D time since those early days, and it was only a bit more recently that I got back fully into the swing of things. I always really wanted to play it. In fact, in high school, I had a group of friends who were very much interested in trying it out, and that was the first time that I ever did any DMing, and it was a lot of fun, but we only ever did that one session because unfortunately scheduling was just impossible. Which doesn't even make sense for a bunch of teenagers with nothing better to do with their lives, but regardless, one way or another, it unfortunately never quite took off. So I'm glad that I got kind of reinvigorated, reinstigated into the community just a couple years ago now. Probably a bit. It was before COVID, fortunately. Though we were playing online, because again, all from different locations in Canada here. Yeah, just getting stuck down the nostalgia tunnel, the memory roller coaster here. So many good times. I very much enjoy playing with my wife because the two of us can play off of each other in a lot of really fun ways, and we very much enjoy either making our characters completely separately so we can have secrets from each other and have some like fun interplay. Or in the last campaign we actually made our characters together, and we're playing two Furbolg brothers, and that was really fun, and there was a lot of really good stuff. Your first campaign, which one was it? It had the muck-filled fountain with a ring of protection in it. A few of the kobold enemies that you remember in the monster manual were brandishing scorpions on strings, hanging off the ends of sticks. Oh, terrifying. In the final room was two shadows and a skeleton on a throne with a glowing orb in his lap behind a shield. Oh, and a gelatinous cube. I'm sure. Always a gelatinous cube. Couldn't throw a stick in a dungeon back in the day without running into a gelatinous cube, of course. You're immune to electrical damage, but metal and liquids around you electrify constantly. Look out. Huh. Interesting. Most of the ones will be non-shuffling. All the ones we carry will turn into non-shufflers too. Is this a good wand? Terrible recharge time. Not so much. Not so much. And for Safed, your first campaign was when you were 7, your teenage cousins were playing. You weaseled your way in and rolled up a paladin. First thing, they had you go into a cave full of sturges, and they killed you. You weren't allowed to play. To this day, whenever you play D&D, you'll go out of your way to absolutely murder those freaking bird mosquitoes. Ah, yes. You have a racial enemy, but in real life. You a ranger? But I'm sorry that you were thrown under the bus like that. Very unfortunate way to get introduced to it, but I'm glad that you stuck with it and still continue to play nowadays, because I feel like so often people get that kind of gatekeeping and then they never end up being able to get into it because they had, you know, a negative first experience, but sounds like it instead led into a fun playstyle to take into the future, which is awesome. Wands I'm currently carrying gain 1 to 3 additional spell slots. This is all garbage. Let's just electrify everything. I'll probably get myself killed. Oh my. Okay. This is fine. This is okay. Oh, jeez. Am I immune to fire in this run? Was that last run? I think that was last run. It's the thing with dying all the time is you really start to mix them up. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna blow up all these barrels. I see what it is now. I want to take this piece of metal with me. Oh no, oh, it starts fires everywhere. Oh, that's good to know. It makes sense, I guess. You can get behind that. Bunch of fungi? Let's do it. Ow. Ow. Stop that. I don't spark gunpowder though, that's good. That's nice. Oh, I'm definitely gonna die still though. Oh no. Oh no, get me out up here. Saw the barrel slightly too late there, but that's all good. Well, it's not a very successful day in terms of Noita. It's a very, very successful day in terms of lovely conversation. So thank you for saving me from desolation here.